Want to have all of your tips in bite-sized chunks? Don't have time for long guides? Well, here are 25 more quick tips guaranteed to be speedier than Eevee Saw for that champion-based shooter, Paladins. 1. It isn't always a good idea to contest a point and make the round go on longer. If all your team just died and you're a tank on the point and it is 99% and you are sure to die, it's often best not to contest it, as if you do, it gives more time for the enemy to get their ultimates back up while still being futile for your team. This is true on siege mode and mainly when you are pushing the payload on attacks, as it will give your ultimates to your enemies during that very strategic siege point where they're more key to success. Although if it is the final point, it is worth a last stand, or if you think your allies can arrive in time. 2. Discord is great, both as a form of communication, in that there's no voice communications at the moment in the game, and you could ask people in the game in chat if they are using one and maybe join them, but also it's great for finding groups, teams, or friends to play the game with, and there's a big Paladins Reddit server, and also lots of other community groups, like Joshino. 3. Using ultimates can win siege points, but once the payload is captured, it is worth using your ultimate early if you have it at a choke point, as you will have time to regain your ultimate. Also, like Eevee, due to a large ulti percentage chance gain every hit, you can be very generous with how many times you use her Snow Sneeze. 4. Trickling is a phenomenon in Paladins where you spawn at different times due to death timers being out of sync as you died at different times, thus trickling onto the point if you rush there straight after spawning. Most of the time it is better to group up either hidden behind a wall closer to the point still on your mount, or in spawn and then to go as a group, as the numbers advantage does really work. 5. People go side to side on frozen guards spawn area not knowing which one is closest to the point. Little trick folks, the icicles in the corner of the roof indicate the one that is closest to the point even before the icon comes up. 6. Before playing rank mode, you should really have all champions at level 4 so you can pick any champion type if you need to and any counter that you might want to use. At the very least, 4 in each category gives you enough space to pick 2 of each champion in a team comp, especially as an enemy might pick 2 of one champion type, and in a lot of popular lineups like a deathball comp they might pick 2 tanks and you might want to do the same, but if your ally picks a tank and you don't have an extra one spare, you might be in a little bit of trouble. 7. Cauterize can reduce 90% of all healing at level 3, and this means it can pretty much shut down enemy healers, and even at low levels it has a big impact, and it's extra especially important when facing a Ying or a Meldamba, as they are 2 of the strongest healers at the moment. 8. Cauterize is great on characters that have consistent fire like a Victor, Grok, Ying, Tyra, and other automatic champions, as you do so much damage spread over an area, so it's best to keep the debuff applied over single shot champions who have a harder time doing it. 9. There's a reason why morale has been a big part of tactics and battles of the past, and it isn't that different in team-based games. Positive reinforcement is great to increase your morale and to keep your team from getting frustrated and making mistakes. VVGN is nice job, VER is you rock, VVGR is no worries, VVGL is good luck, and VVGF is have fun, all voice callouts that can encourage your teammates. 10. Watching the kill cam can be frustrating, but it's worth watching how you died so you can learn from your mistakes and also get some tips on how to play other champions. 11. Sound is really important in the game, and learning champions' blink sounds, footstep sounds, and weapon sounds can give you a good game sense, and especially when you're wearing surround sound headphones or headphones in general, and it can stop the enemies from getting the drop on you. 12. Learn counters to your champion so you don't get caught out. For example, Makoa's hook goes through reversal, so as Androx is facing a Makoa, you don't want to reversal unless you are sure their hook is down. Or that if a Drogoz has an ultimate and you go into Makoa's ultimate, you can be killed as that Makoa because you're not invincible. Or that Fernando can stop Drogo's ultimate, making all of the team invincible around him, and so on and so forth, but learning these is very important. 13. If you keep holding fire with Ruckus whilst reloading, you'll still have the maximum rate of fire once you come out of that reload animation, and your chain gun will still keep turning. 14. The left hand side on Timbermill is faster to the point, and most players use the right hand exit, but it's a common misconception. 15. If you're going to play aim heavy champions like Androxus or Knesset, it's great practice to go into the target ground for a while to ingrain that muscle memory into your mind. My Androxus workout is to stand still and headshot the skies, one shot then moving onto the next head, then to move and try and do the same thing. 16. Bushes and shrubs in the game aren't just there for decoration. If the map has them in it, you can use them to hide, to heal, to become hidden, and to dodge enemy fire, or even stop the payload on frozen guard and confuse the enemies whilst doing it. 17. There are usually only several ways to go on a map as a flank, but being predictable and going the same path every round will just lead to you being read by your opponent. Try to be a little unpredictable as a flanker, as you don't want your enemy to notice you are there until they are dead. 18. On PC you can press F9 to show your FPS and latency in game, and you can use it to check to see if you are lagging and need to try and fix something, or that perhaps your graphics settings are too high. 19. If you grab somebody with a Makoa's hook, dragging them to the side increases the distance and time stunned, and it also makes them easier to hit as they have to run past you to create distance between you two. And generally the further somebody is away, the longer time they're stunned, and the more time it gives your allies to fire at that stunned enemy. 20. Esports in Paladins is just emerging and new teams are forming, switching and getting better all the time. But right now there are lots of small leagues you can get involved with, and it's worth looking at before and if this game gets big and serious. You might even find yourself at the forefront of an esports pro team. 21. On Drogos you can ride a lot of walls and towers to keep in the air indefinitely. For example, the temple-like towers on Serpent Beach that are in the centre of the map, or on Jaguar Falls, the walls that act as entrances on either side. It makes you harder to hit and can keep you being pesky at all times to your foes, although sometimes it's worth coming down and making sure you get your hits off. 22. On Knessa you can teleport onto lots of elevated areas you might not normally expect. There's a great video demonstrating them all linked in my description. The only problem with most of them is that you're immobile and will fall off if you move, which makes you a target to enemy projectiles or sniper fire. 23. You can work out player death timers, especially as a flank, to know when they will be coming out of the spawn room, so you can harass and stop them getting to the point if a tank, or pick them off if a squishy champion, so it's worth counting once you've killed somebody, or you see somebody die. 24. Eevee with the wormhole card, you can teleport into the air over walls, obstacles and other cover and shoot where you think the enemies are. You'll be practically invincible as people cannot easily predict where you'll teleport to in the Z axis, and you likely won't even touch the floor if you teleport back quickly. 25. If you are angry enough to shout at your teammates, you're probably suffering from tilt. Happens to the best of us. Instead of going into another game in a bad mood, it's best to cool off, take a break, exercise it out of your system, or do something to relax and come back with a clear mind and be a better player for it. Bonus tip 26. Don't take aggression. Seriously, it sucks enough, I needed to make another tip. Anyway, that was my second 25 quick tips, and taking the total up to 50 for Paladins. It's slightly moving away from the more general tips to little tips and tricks with champions, and there is a bit of a conundrum. Do I just randomly do tips and tricks for champions in one video, or do I try and break down tips to each champion, maybe making less tips in one video? Really what I want this series to achieve is to give as many good tips to a newer or advanced player as possible in the shortest time, as not everyone has hours to watch long guides. So I want this to be a bite-sized option. What do you all think? Should I keep the more random format or tighten it up? Also, if you have some of your own tips, feel free to post in the comment section below. Finally, thanks to Bugsy for contributing to some of the tips. Well, he didn't realise, but I was quizzing him slightly whilst he was streaming and in a game queue, and also to Simon on my Discord for doing a few tips with me. Like the video if you thought it was speedy enough, dislike it if you thought it was locked in a Knessa mind beam, and subscribe for more of my tips videos. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Until next time everybody, Joshino.